welcome to the Hallmarkies Podcast. We are really excited today. We are starting a little experiment here for this week and next week. We are going to be doing pilots, I guess, we're covering pilots we're going to have two shows that we are going to be covering, and we're going to leave it up to our audience to decide which one, now that we're done with Hallmark television for a little while as far as their series, which one they want us to cover. So this week we are going to be talking about Army Wives, which was on Lifetime, and next week we are going to be talking about Cedar Cove, which was on Hallmark Channel, and we're going to leave it up to all of you listening which one you want us to cover on a regular basis. So really looking forward to this, and I have a great panel to talk about the pilot episode of Army Wives, and I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Caroline is here. Yeah, and Carrie's here.
Hi, guys.
Yes, and we have a special new addition to the Hallmarkies Podcast family. My friend Christine is here. And Christine, why don't you take a second, introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hi, I'm Christine, and I was in the Army a long time ago, 1992 to 1996, and I guess I qualified at the time as an Army wife as well because I was married to a fellow soldier.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I started trying to think of who I knew that had I feel like you couldn't have an Army Wives podcast and not have somebody who had some connection to the Army on the show. And Christine and I met the same way that my co-host Amber met. We met through being fans of Rob has a podcast, so we kind of have that podcasting connection. We're both big Survivor fans, and so it's really fun. And so thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience. And let's talk about first just kind of our overall responses to this pilot episode of Army Wives. I guess, first of all, did you watch the show when it was airing, and what did you think overall of this episode? Carrie, what did you think?
You know, I did not see it in 2007 when it first aired. Mm-hmm. I do remember ads for it, though. I think I remember seeing ads for it on TV during other shows, and I just didn't watch it. So, you know, when I watched it, we have this opening scene in a bar. This waitress walks by, and a guy smacks her on the butt, and she kind of reacts, you know, and then she kind of, so you can tell this is a rough area. She's living a little bit of a rough life. She's a survivor. You can already tell that from like the first couple minutes. My first thought was, we are not on Hallmark Channel anymore. This is Lifetime, and there are new things that are going to be happening.
Yes.
So that was kind of my impression, my first impression, and then kind of carried through the rest of the show.
Yeah, we're not in Kansas anymore here. This is PG-13 land here for Army Wives. Caroline, what did you think?
See, I watched it like when it first aired and stuff, and I loved it then. And like Katherine Bell was the reason I started watching Hallmark. Like when I saw that she was doing Good Witch movies and stuff. So it's Katherine's fault that I am a Hallmark fan now.
So Christine, what about you? Given your experience, what did you think about it?
Well, I must have caught a couple episodes here and there or seen the advertising at the time. I also love Katherine Bell. So I would say initially especially the first couple that they show, it definitely took me back for sure. Mm-hmm. Although the cast is probably older than what soldiers typically are, for sure. I think I was a child in the military at age 18. So it's interesting that the first couple, they're not 18. So, but it definitely, it sucks you right into the plot right away. You get the full scenery and exposure, and you just get pulled in right away to the environment they're trying to set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did watch it. I loved the show, and I love Katherine Bell. So that's the overall takeaway I think we get from this episode is all of us love Katherine Bell.
Yes.
I mean, I loved her in Jag, and so I loved her in this, and her character definitely through the course of the series goes through a lot, and she gets tested in this as far as her acting chops way more in this show than she does in Good Witch. I mean,
definitely,
yeah, and so she was definitely somebody. When I saw that she was part of the Hallmark family, I was like, oh yes, I love Katherine Bell. and so yeah, I mean, I think I was attracted to this show because it has strong female characters, which is not something that you necessarily get all the time. And compared to something like Desperate Housewives, which was right around the same time, like this is something that, I don't know, I think I could connect more with and is less soapy than, I mean, it is pretty soapy, but compared to Desperate Housewives, it's a little more grounded.
Less desperate. Maybe it was less desperate.
The less desperate, yeah.
And what drew me in, I was like, I'm from South Carolina, and it's filmed in South Carolina, and I grew up in a military town, so like it just kind of like sucked me in. So
yeah, and same with me. I grew up right near Fort Detrick in Frederick County in Maryland, and so definitely had some of that feel about it. And I think the movie, I'm in movie head, I think the series is really well cast. I think they got a pretty strong group of actors to play all of these roles. Would you agree, Christine?
Yeah, I actually so far have been most impressed with the character of Roxy. I think she's really driving a lot of the connectivity to everybody, and she's just like the voice that kind of sticks out and represents the new wife of the enlisted soldier, but just a more reality check compared to like the officers' wives.
Yeah. So Roxy is kind of she's the first character that we meet. She's our introduction to the series, and she marries a Trevor, second lieutenant Trevor. She marries him.
LeBlanc.
Yeah. Yes, and they've only known each other for 4 days. Is that right?
Yeah, 4 days.
And she's played by Sally Pressman. I've never really seen her in anything else, but she's super cute. So I'm not sure.
I Hallmark.
I know. I like her. She's fun. And I'm like, she hasn't done anything for quite a while. I'm looking.
Is she a pretty consistent character in the series? I mean, this is I'm like coming in Army Wives.
Yeah.
She's been consistent.
Okay,
I guess
I like her a lot. I thought it wasn't a surprise, that she would be so strong based on her background being so rough. It sounds like, but then the glue kind of that holds this new friend group together. She's bold. She doesn't know the restrictions. She doesn't know what the role she's supposed to play as an army wife yet. And so she adds like this freshness. It was cool. It's cool to see.
Yeah, I think so. That Christine, was that somebody that you could kind of relate to as Roxy?
Well, I've never had alcohol, so I don't know if I can relate to a bartender. But aside from that, for sure, especially lots of the soldiers, girlfriends or some, even the women soldiers, just that tough exterior, and just there's just like a certain amount of living that you can kind of see.
How do pretty much all of the officers live on? Or these soldiers, do they live on base? Is that, or do they?
So it's sort of how a lot of people get married really young in the military. What happens is you either live in the barracks as a single soldier who's an enlisted soldier, not an officer, but you either live in the barracks and you have a whole lot of chores you have to do, or if you're married, you can live off base and you get something where they pay for essentially your rent or toward your mortgage. You get a quarter, it was called BAQ when I was in. I don't know what it would be called. It's called differently now, but it's just a certain amount of money to pay toward your rent, your mortgage, your bills, whatever, a little extra. So you do find a lot of young soldiers that get married a lot younger than maybe they ought to. And I was maybe one of them. So I was just short of 21 when I got married. It was, and yes, we lived off base off of Fort Hood in a town nearby Killeen, Texas. And, but otherwise, yes, a lot of them live on base. And then the officers have officers housing. So there's usually, I've been in a foreign country before, so they usually have a housing area outside of the base where they put everybody.
Yeah. And it seems like in this show, they all seem like they live together, like they all live in the same development, same area.
Right.
Yeah.
Same hospital that they would come and use, kind of the same. Yeah.
Yeah. They have the commissary and other things like that. I mean,
all of that's just going to be on post.
Yeah,
it reminds me of my town. Like it's weird, like how like the bases and everything, and the housing and all that. No, I live in Sumter near Shaw Air Force Base.
Okay, I've been to Fort Jackson for basic training.
Yeah.
So we have Kim Delaney playing Claudia. She has been married to is the what's his title? I'm trying to get this all right, but she's been married to Michael Holden. I don't know why I can't find.
Oh, the Holdens, Claudia. Yes,
Claudia Joy. Yeah.
It's like James Michael or Michael James or something, like she called him a big full name, but okay, so that's Claudia. That's good to know.
Yeah, Claudia Joy. Yeah.
Yeah. So he misses his lieutenant general. That's what I want to make sure I get the right. He's played by Brian McNamara, and he misses the promotion. At the beginning, they have this promotional dinner or whatever, and this other guy who is married to Lenore, who's one of our catty women, and who spread rumors. Lenore spread rumors that Michael is racist, and that's why he didn't get that's why her husband got the promotion instead of Michael. Christine, is this all too petty, or did you buy it?
For a moment I thought I was watching it in 2020 and not from 2007. So it seemed a little more relevant at the time. I don't know how the officer promotions work. At the lower level for enlisted people, there's an allotment to how many people can get promoted, and you are fighting for those promotions. It's more like, that person always has messy boots or a wrinkled uniform, and that's why they didn't get it, not that they're racist.
Right.
It's a little different.
Yeah. I mean, being racist has always been bad, right? It's always.
I would hope so.
2007. Yeah, I wondered if how involved the wives get as far as like going after each other, kind of thing. Because that was definitely what this Claudia Joy had word to Lenore, and the husband's like, okay, there's going to be consequences to this, and she's like, I can handle Lenore, and I thought he meant there was consequences for me, like, don't do that, there's consequences for me, but she thought, wife to wife, there's going to be consequences.
But I kind of love like petty, ridiculous, like fighting. Like I like that when you dip into a little bit of soapiness, like into that kind of thing. Lenore. I mean, what a perfect name for a villain.
That is a petty, like
Lenore.
Right. Hello. Don't call my husband a racist if he's not a racist.
Yeah. I know. That's terrible. It's Kim Delaney, I think, is another strong casting. I think she's a good actress. And I think she does a good job sort of playing the sort of the mother of this whole group. She's welcoming to Roxy. She's understanding of Denise, Katherine Bell's character, all these things. She's definitely like the mother figure, the mother hen of our little group. And I think she does a good job with that. So then we have Bridget Branna playing Pamela, Officer Pamela Moran. She is pregnant, and we find out that she is pregnant by a surrogate. She's acting as a surrogate for another family, and because her family, they're really struggling with money, and her and her husband hasn't been there for any of the doctor's visits. He's definitely really really not very supportive of her at all.
Hard to deal with.
Yeah. I don't know, Carrie, what do you think of that whole plot?
Oh, she broke my heart. I mean, you could tell right away she was not happy being pregnant. She wasn't happy. The ultrasound, she's a little sarcastic and stuff. And so you're kind of like, oh, okay, I want them to unfold this story a little bit more. And then this husband who's not supportive, and you're like, wow, he's kind of a jerk. Then you see, I mean, he stays a jerk because he has these finances that they're struggling with, yet he makes these big purchases. But then to realize, oh, it's a surrogate. Okay, wow. I did wonder, I didn't look this up, but I'm like, how much do surrogacy, is that like $20,000? Or like, how much do you pay for someone to carry your child? I mean, I think it's.
That was the number I found, was about $20,000.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Like, major sacrifices she's making for the family, and then he's so flippant with it. So my heart just broke for her. Oh man, just not a happy situation.
I wonder if it will be even more if because she is pregnant with like twin, multiple.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it would be hard to get all the approvals and all of the other things that you need in order to get approved for surrogacy. Like, I don't feel like any of the surrogacy agencies and other things that this gets, because there's a whole legal process and it all has to be done. I mean, there's actually like contracts that are signed and things like that. I don't think this, I mean, unless it was way underhanded and way under, I don't know, some kind of weird Octomom sort of thing, maybe, I guess.
Right, that's the soap opera way to handle it, though, right? It's,
yeah.
I see a lot of that on like a general hospital or something.
There you go.
Babies.
Yeah.
That's true. So why would it reflect badly on him? Why would it have consequences for him vocationally if word got out that these weren't hers, she's a surrogate? They're going to pretend the baby died, like that. They were going to keep it all under the radar. Why was that bad news for him?
Well, maybe that he can't like support his family.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So just more character. It just reflected on him badly
on him.
I think so. And maybe Christine, what do you think?
Well, I don't know, because I didn't write it down, I apologize, but on the Wikipedia, it has his rank as Master Sergeant. So if you're a Master Sergeant, you've got a lot of soldiers in your command, a lot of enlisted soldiers, and it might just look a little strange to all of your subordinates that you're not able to take care of your own house and you're responsible for the lives of all these soldiers.
Yeah. So... Yeah. I mean, and I did appreciate, because she ends up having the babies on pool table. That was dramatic.
So like.
Yeah. But they actually got like real newborn looking babies. I appreciated that. They were and and then she has Black babies, and everybody's kind of like, what is happening? And then she tells everybody, but yeah, I mean, she's definitely a really interesting character. I think that she's obviously doesn't get along that well with any of the other women on base, and she had been a police officer before, and now she's a mom for her kids, but she still misses her job. And so, a lot of interesting things, I think, to her character.
It was funny to me that whole scene at the very end, because I was like, oh, a tribe is born. This is what the title of the pilot is. A tribe is born.
Right.
And they all bond over this birth.
Yeah.
They have to deliver these babies on their own to keep it a secret. And then Roxy says this line that I was like, oh, this is the motto of the show. Roxy's like, well, we all have our secrets. And they all kind of like have these knowing looks, you know, and we know some of their secrets, but I'm sure some of them are going to be, you know, developed and everything. But I thought, I wrote that down. I was like, ooh, this is a key moment here. Like, we all have our secrets.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we have another really good actor, Sterling K. Brown, playing Roland. He's our army wife man. Army husband. And he is married. He's a psychiatrist, and he is married to Joan, who is a colonel in the army, and she's played by Wendy Davis. And so their dynamic, she has pretty bad PTSD, and she's kind of in denial about it. And her coming back home there's a lot of struggle. And Christine, how can you tap into that at all? I know there wasn't like a huge conflict when you served.
Yeah, I've never served in combat, so it's not something. Unfortunate, it's not something in my experience, but it's I've been on deployments, but they were for training. They were never. Not a lot happened in 92 to 96, except for Black Hawk Down did, but I wasn't part of that. So.
But you probably had friends and others that have served. What do you think about this dynamic between Roland and Joan?
I mean, they're hitting you with a lot because you've got the typical gender reversal, I think. So it's just trying to wrap my brain around that as well, because people that I know that have been in the military since, they all are men. That have served, like Afghanistan and everything. Not to say that women don't. It's just I just don't know them.
Right.
So it's kind of challenging. I will say, just as a veteran who gets healthcare at the VA, there's been like leaps and bounds about addressing PTSD. So hopefully, I don't know I'm curious how the storyline will go, because back in 2007, it was still something that it wasn't treated as something that they would like. It was an embarrassment. You'd hide it. You would go to a doctor and lie about that sort of thing. And now you can't even just call to check on a prescription without them going through a whole suicide questionnaire with you.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Carolyn, what do you think of Roland and Joan?
I love that storyline. I love Sterling. Like I loved him on This Is Us and stuff. And it was neat to see him in this role again. And I like their storyline. I like the PTSD storyline, and it just brought a new dynamic to the show, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I've forgotten that he was in this show, to be honest. Like, oh yeah, he's so good. Yeah, Carrie, what do you think of him?
They really set him up to be a very faithful and caring husband. I hope he stays that way. Now, I'm the one who hasn't watched the show, but really faithful, really caring, really patient with her. Joan and I believe his name is Frank Holden. They had a conversation after the awards dinner or the promotion dinner, and she referenced some sort of questionnaire. Maybe Christine, you had just referenced that. He said, oh yeah, after a certain, war or a certain thing, they made sure all these. Yeah. Can you tell me about that a little bit? Can you talk about what they were?
So Desert Storm was 91. So that was before I served. And I know that there were problems after that, but.
Domestic violence type of thing?
Sure. So while I was in the military, that was definitely a very obvious, huge problem that happened for sure. So I definitely worked with soldiers that had been in Desert Storm. And then there were some deployments that didn't really quite go into war, like where we would threaten Saddam, and my ex-husband was sent over there to Camp Doha, and there was a lot of, we don't know what happened over there. There wasn't a official war, but people came back different for sure. Mm-hmm. But again, it was one of those things where they go through the motions, but you never were supposed to answer truthfully on any of those ever. Never.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he changed all that around. So I just want to make sure we give credit, though. Current day, they do. Yes. But that's not how it used to be at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No. Interesting.
Yeah. Thanks for peeking into that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then we also have Katherine Bell, who we discussed, playing Denise Sherwood is her name. She is married to Frank Sherwood, who is Colonel Frank Sherwood, who is played by Terry Serpico. And you see at the beginning that she's bruised. She has bruises, and Roxy says, if he hits you again, then he says, if he hits you once, hit him back. If he hits you a second time, shoot him in the balls. That's what she says. So,
in the balls.
Yes. So Denise, we think that maybe she is having a troubled relationship with her husband, but we find out that she has a son named Jeremy, and we find out that Jeremy's actually the one that is abusing his mom, which I never seen that plot line before in a show, I thought that was an interesting take on, I don't know, just an interesting plot story for a mother to dealing with an abusive son. What do you think, Carrie, about that?
That is a storyline that doesn't get spoken of very often, and I do know that it's a reality to some households where the child is actually the abusive one and not the parent or the husband so that was a plot twist for me too, because all of a sudden I figured it was the husband. We see her bruises, and then the next scene we see the husband really coming down hard on the teenage son, and she kind of is very, as an abused person is, kind of trying to make everyone else's life easier. She's holding her emotions very even keel, and so you're just like, oh, this guy. And I almost wanted to go back and watch it with the information that he wasn't the abuser, and they actually have a pretty good marriage, But I had a family communications professor in college who lived through this, and she brought a lot of some insights to our family comm class. And honestly, it is an eye opener. I'm like, whoa, that doesn't happen. Like, oh yeah. It does. Yeah. So this will be interesting. This will be interesting to see.
Yeah, because Frank says, to him, to don't coddle him. You're just going to get him killed down the line. So he is pretty tough on Jeremy, but obviously that's no excuse for what Jeremy does. And so and it's interesting because the way that Jeremy is played. Let me see what the actor. I forget. The actor Richard Bryant is his name. The way he's played, it's like a quiet rage, which is like pretty scary, actually.
Yeah, that's the worst kind.
Yeah, because he seems kind of timid and sort of shy, but then like this anger in him too. So it's an interesting portrayal, an interesting performance.
Kind of fueled by alcohol, possibly. We see a scene where he's holding a beer bottle, possibly, or some sort of alcohol in a paper bag, and really kind of scary. I'm definitely at the age where he needs to take responsibility for himself. No matter what his upbringing was, like he's definitely choosing now to be too forceful with his his mom.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, right. Christine, what do you think about this plot?
as someone who watches a lot of soap operas, again, it seemed too obvious that they were really painting. And so I think I messaged you even. I was like, I kind of called that one because it was so obvious. And, when she goes up to her husband as he's being deployed and she says, oh, the medicine's in your pocket and here's the letter. And they have this whole moment. You're like, are they trying to say he's on medication for something? And that's why he's, if the husband was the one, but then the letter, and you feel the whole sense of that. And I'm like, yeah, there's a twist coming. Something's not right here. And then you get the feeling like, okay, the son has been just not really choosing, but maybe told his whole life, like this, you're going to be military or whatever was going to happen. And you can see where he seems like, instead of being happy about West Point, he's really upset that someone might have made a call and done a favor for him. And you're trying to figure it out, but the signs start getting there that like, okay, this is going to be the twist, right? And so I'm curious how they'll deal with that, because to go into West Point, he's got to be an adult at this point, or really close to turning an adult. And so I'm curious. And the alcohol, obviously, that he's on the playground with. So that will be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, because he's mad that his dad made some calls as far as West Point, getting him into West Point. But if his dad is a colonel, is that high enough to high enough a position to have that kind of leverage with something like West Point?
I think so. For sure. But I also wish I had someone make a call for me. I would have loved to have gone to West Point. That would have been fantastic.
You didn't know Frank.
So Joan being a colonel, that's pretty high then.
Yeah, I have to look it all up. I know all the different generals. It's Be My Little General. So you go through the whole ranks or whatever. And she's had to lead over there, and Joan says that if you knew the things that I did, you wouldn't love me.
Yeah, that gave me chills when she said it again. I went, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And they have Claudia has this tea party for all the wives, and that's when Lenore is there. I'm being all snobby, and then Roxy shows up, and I do think that probably if I was Roxy, I would probably, if I'm trying, I don't know, I probably would have worn a different outfit, like knowing I'm going to a tea.
Like that was her best outfit,
right? Like this is a Mark Carrie show as well, is it? Because this was very Desperate Housewives, the whole like convoluted tea party to pull all these different people together at the right moment when everything's going to happen.
Yeah. No, I don't think he was involved in this, as far as I know. But yeah, it definitely has a little bit of that film. It's actually based on a book called Under the Saber, The Unwritten Code of Army Wives by Tanya Blank is the name of the book. And it was created by a woman named Catherine Fugit. And so she got it made at ABC. I mean, it was also made, this was on Lifetime, but it was ABC, and ABC did Desperate Housewives.
Can we talk about those two awful girls? Two little gossips who just want to, run around together and spread rumors and get information. Like, I don't even know their names. I didn't even write them down, but I was like, oh, those girls are
So Desperate Housewives ran from 2004 to 2012. So this show would have been right in the middle. It would have started in 2007. So, so definitely, but those, the catty wives, the gossips.
Yeah. They're like Cinderella's stepsisters.
Yeah, they really were.
I love a good gossip story, though. So,
I feel like the show does a pretty good job of balancing out the sort of fun, sort of dishy side with the more realism, gritty side. That you get I don't know, like you do have those heavy moments, but I feel like it balances it pretty well with lighter, funnier, girl power kind of moments. Pretty well.
The interaction between Roxy and Claudia Joy at the doctor's office. Yeah. I really liked, and I was really happy to see Claudia Joy respond like with respect. Like she was like, I almost wonder if she saw a younger version of herself or something, someone who's gonna fight for her family and be that mama bear type of thing. And so she just gives her spot at the doctor's office. And I thought that was sweet. Like, okay, this will be a good relationship going forward, hopefully.
Yes. So Roxy ends up taking her son to the ER. They're on base, and she's just waiting and waiting and waiting. And Claudia comes in, wants her daughter to get a physical, and they're going to just let her in because her husband is the general or whatever. And so, and then Roxy comes up to her and is basically like, look, I've been waiting all night. Yeah. And
girl.
Yeah. And
don't have that touch yet.
Yeah. And you do get the feeling that Claudia is a big fan of Roxy, that kind of likes her moxie, like and spunk.
She does have spunk.
Yeah. And so is your experience, Christine, with the on-site, on-post hospital, is that pretty accurate, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, well, I have a long history of I'm like, I was injured in the military and had surgeries and whatnot, and it's the worst. You show up for an 8 a.m. appointment that you schedule 2 months in advance, and you sit there till 2 in the afternoon. They tell you, sorry, we can't fit you in, we're gonna have to bring you back. And it was the worst. It was absolutely the worst.
Goodness.
So I might have been a little triggered by some of that. But,
oh no.
But civilians and soldiers didn't use the same facility. So so that was a little, I guess it makes sense that her daughter would go there, but soldiers would go to the facility.
Okay.
There should be a TRICARE facility for the family members and like a military hospital for the soldiers.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So then we had, it kind of made me laugh, is you have Roxy and Trevor doing like some sexy ironing. I don't know if I want to be flirting around a hot iron. Like what's going on? Kind of made me laugh.
Safety first.
They're young and in love.
Yeah.
If you could get married after 4 days, you could,
I guess. Yeah. Like, let's get in. She's like moving it all around, and I'm like, that's like you're gonna get burned.
That's funny. That's funny. Roxy, she just waltzes around in her underwear, doesn't care. She just is, gonna be sexy, I guess.
Right.
She's gonna do that. So ironing just happens to be a sexy event with her, I guess.
There you go.
It gets interrupted by the welcoming committee of these catty women that you were talked about earlier, and they go off. These women, their husbands are gone, and they are living on base, and they're going to the bar and find out that they are not being faithful. And Roxy's kind of, I think, a little surprised by that.
Were these the same women or the different women? I felt like they were kind of a new twosome.
Oh, was it? I was thinking it was the same, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, actually.
Yeah.
Now that you say that.
Yeah, I was.
Remember, Caroline?
I thought they were the same. I thought it was the same, but now I'm second guessing myself. Yeah.
That were at the party.
I didn't recognize them.
Yeah. I think, I'm not positive, but yeah. And so I liked also, I think it was Roxy says, one of the women says, well, the question is, what would Jesus do? And he says, he would smack you across the face.
That was Pamela.
Oh, was it Pamela? Okay.
That was Pamela.
I gotta write it down. Yeah.
That was funny.
And so Michael talks to Jeremy about hitting his mother, And he says the military has a code of conduct and it's non-negotiable. You do not hit women.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably very telling to see what's going to happen going forward. But now at least Jeremy knows that people know it's out there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we find out Joan has a drinking problem. The tea party. We find out that Claudia dropped out of Harvard Law to be an army wife, and Lenore is holding that against her. Like, how could you? I mean, I don't know. It seems like a funny thing to kind of, Harvard Law, like, oh, you're trash. Like, it's sort of funny to me.
I know. She hinted at, like, it was almost like she was threatening to find the reason. And Claudia Joy said, well, for love, but it seemed like Lenore had an idea that there was another reason that she dropped out, and she was going to find it. Can't wait to learn more about you, or whatever she said.
Yeah, that's quite a thing to hold against a person. Like, you're a loser.
The benefit of quitting Harvard Law.
Yeah,
I know, right?
So we find that out. Roland picks Joan up from the bar, and that's when they have the conversation about what I did over there. If you knew, you wouldn't love me. And and then Roland shows up at the tea party. So he is very comfortable with his masculinity, which I like to see.
Go Roland, yeah.
Roland.
The other thing I do appreciate about the show is that it, like, them being Black isn't really a thing. Like, it's just effortless diversity. Like, they're just, normal, which I appreciate, that we can just have, because I mean, I would just think it would be really frustrating if every single role as a Black actor you had to
be Black.
Yeah, like, why can't they be treated like any other characters?
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that about Roland and Joan. I think that they are
and that she was in the military and not him. Like, I like that it was like that.
Yeah.
Like, it was the woman in the military.
Yeah, and he's comfortable with who he is, and comfortable with supporting Joan and going to the tea party. He has no issues with that. And I kind of thought it was funny that he ends up being the driver, and everybody's just like kind of piling into his car, and he's like, okay, let's do it, let's go.
Yeah. Now this is the type of show that makes me, like, suspicious about everyone talking to each other. Like, are you going to have an affair? Are you going to, what's happening here? But he played his character so well that you can tell he's going to come into this group and truly be a friend. He's going to be their friend. Yeah. He's going to, well, maybe, hopefully, I hope he is. Yeah, like him and Roxy, like, just kind of met each other in a couple different situations, and you just think, okay, I feel like he's going to be the hero of the show. He was in this episode, at least, to me.
Yeah, and I did like, he was like, childbirth is as disgusting as it is ridiculous. That made me laugh.
That's true. She's like, you having a good time?
Yeah.
Just watching it. That's funny.
So yeah, it was good. So that's basically the episode. Pamela has the newborns, and that's kind of how we end it. But I don't know, I feel like it is a pretty decent pilot. I feel like we get to see all of our characters. We get to see quite a bit of story from all of our characters. Is there would you say, is there one of the wives that you are the most interested in, or that you find the most compelling? What do you think, Christine?
Well, I think there's just a moment in the episode with Pam and Roxy at the like outcast table together, where they sort of try to outdo each other. And she's like, "Well, I was dealing Percocet, and now I'm having I'm having the pastor's babies." And she's like, "I've known my husband for 17 days, and I have 2 kids by 2 different people." Like, like that moment, you're just like, okay, I think this is going to be like, you know, you always wonder. Maybe that's from the Survivor part of it, but it's like within an alliance, what's the, you know, the Onion alliance, who's tighter within that group? And I'm curious to see, because I feel like those 2 are going to have a lot to bond them together.
Yeah.
But I like them both.
Yeah. What about you, Carrie? Did you have a favorite or most compelling one that you thought?
Yes. You know, as I think about it now, having watched it and kind of sat with it for a little while, I do like Claudia Joy. I think that she has a really interesting strength. She's obviously a leader, like you called her, the mama bear of the group, maybe, or called her something. And she has a strong friendship with the Katherine Bell character, Katherine Bell character who is so vulnerable right now, you know, and so Claudia Joy is real strong. She's a leader. She left her own tea party to go with this crew, you know. So she has like this compassion and this drive. So I'm interested to see where she goes. I like her. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like Brian McNamara as an actor who plays Claudia Joy's husband, Michael. I think he's good. And I think the 2 of them have nice chemistry. Like, I buy them as a couple.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we think that
you hope for this couple. You hope for the best, and you want to see them grow. And I like them.
I was thinking, like, did Lenore like toss the house and go through everything while they were all gone? Right.
Maybe I could see it.
Let me find every secret I can.
Yeah. That would be worthy of Lenore, I think. Very good. What about you, Caroline? Who's your sort of favorite, or find you find most compelling?
When I first watched it, it was Roxy, like in 2007. But like now it's Denise. Like I love Denise and Roxy. So I just love Roxy. She's just so cute, and I just love Katherine Bell as Denise. So that probably helps. But I like all of them. I can't decide.
Yeah, I do too. I do like Pamela. I think, you know, we also get the message that Pamela's husband is an overspender. Like, he buys the expensive TV. He's not very good with money. So that's also part of the reason why I think they have to do the surrogacy. But I do really like, I think probably I really like Katherine Bell as Denise. I think that, and that whole plot line with her and her son is very interesting. But I think probably Jonah and Roland are probably my most compelling, very interesting. So but they're all good, I think. And it's definitely like we said at the beginning, this is PG-13. This is not a Hallmark channel. This is Lifetime channel. So watch with caution, our Hallmarkies viewers. But I think it's a good show. You can watch it on ABC. They with ads, they have it on there, so you definitely. Although it was very annoying watching, I have to say, on ABC, because they have showed the same ads over and over again. I'm like, I don't mind having ads, but do we have to have the same the same Geico ad over and over?
Yes.
Like I get it.
You can quote it. You can quote it. And
Marco Polo.
Yes.
Again. But anyway, so let us know what you think of this pilot and also of this podcast, and what you think. Next week we're going to do Cedar Cove, and you can let us know what you prefer and which one we should do, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on that level as well. And so thank you so much, ladies, for coming on and doing this. This was really fun. I really enjoyed talking about this episode with all of you. And Christine, do you have a social media that you want to share?
Probably not. I don't really do a lot quite frankly.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I just want to give you the opportunity if you do. But Carrie, what about you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram. Let's see, it's on Hallmark Comics. So it's Hallmark _ comics. And take a look and follow me.
Great. And Caroline, what about you?
You can follow me on Twitter at MetaCarolineR.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check that out. I have my 250th family movie night pick this week. So if you want family movie recommendations, please check out all of that over there. I'd really appreciate it. But make sure you're also following the podcast at Hallmarkies Podcast and Hallmarkies Pod on social media. And also, if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. And if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and like and comment on the video. We really appreciate that so much. We have our patron group, which is so much fun, and we appreciate all the feedback we get from our patrons. And we have our merch store, which has tons of Hallmark inspired merch. So check that out. And so thanks again, you guys. And maybe we'll be talking again in future episodes.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.